Hey, welcome back. Prerna, welcome back. Kim, good to see you again. Adam, welcome back. Michael, welcome back. Sonia, good to see you again. All right, great. Do we have any questions from lesson 2 so far? Okay, seems like a no. Are we good to continue? Yes, yes. Okay, great. So let's talk about the last topic here, which is about your team conflicts. Okay, now key message here is that we want to understand that teams are going to be far more productive than the same number of people working individually. Okay, and for this, doing all of those things, setting up those informal sessions, getting the team to know each other, collaborate with each other, more one-on-ones, more team building events, activities, all of those face-to-face conversations, all of those can help. Right, now we're going to play out a scenario. Okay, and this is a team dysfunction during a retrospective. And for this, I'm looking for volunteers to simply read out the script for the Scrum Master, the team, John, the developer. Who would like to play the part of a Scrum Master? This is an easy exercise. You're simply reading off.
I'll do it.
Okay, Kim wants to be the Scrum Master. Great. Oops. Wrong mode. Who would like to be the team?
I can do that.
Okay, thanks, Rafi. And who would like to be John, the developer?
I can be schizophrenic, can be both.
Okay. All right. Seems like Adam's got his hand up as well.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Adam's going to take that one. Good. Thanks everybody for volunteering. So let me read out and be the narrator here. So this is a team dysfunction during a retrospective. The Scrum Master of the team is facilitating a team retro. The team is gathered together to discuss the results of the iteration. Kim, over to you.
So it looks like we were unable to achieve the team's or the iteration's goals. What happened?
Well, we spent a lot of time on unplanned work dealing with defects from previous iterations.
I can fix all the defects myself. Just let me work on my own and stay out of my way.
Team members exchange looks or silently look at the ground. What do you think happened in this case?
John crapped on everyone.
Okay.
Aaron was a little too spicy in the conference call.
Right?
It sounds like our team didn't have a definition of done that was established and that they stuck with.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. What else do we notice here?
The conversation was looking aggressive, sort of finger pointing,
Yeah.
trying to find out who is at fault.
Okay, so it's maybe John got triggered thinking the team is pointing out him or pointing towards him. There's a lot of defects we had to deal with. Right? What else did we notice?
Seems like John is the only one. Everyone else is not helping with the defects. Maybe the responsibility is on one person, maybe.
Okay, so maybe all the responsibilities are on that one person. Okay, so maybe work balance is not there.
Yeah, maybe John's coming off a little strong because he's just really stressed out.
Yeah, maybe he's frustrated, he's stressed out.
I think the Scrum Master's question was too open-ended and unstructured.
Yeah,
in
right.
my
So
opinion.
Scrum Master is mentioning in the retrospective what happened during this iteration. If they had been involved throughout the iteration, hopefully they were aware of things that were going on. Hopefully they were aware of what everybody's working on a daily basis. They would have been aware of these impediments that we are facing. Right? So maybe the Scrum Master has some scope, some room for improvement there as well. What does this tell you? Team members are exchanging looks, silently looking at the ground. What does that tell you?
They're uncomfortable.
Exactly.
They're uncomfortable. Right? Maybe they're not speaking up. Right? They're
Lack
saying
of open. Yeah, sorry.
lack of openness for sure. Right? So all of these are pinpointing that we've got some dysfunctions on this team. Okay, and we've seen 5 dysfunctions, and it's listed out as a pyramid because they feed into each other. Okay, the most common thing you will see is that absence of trust. For example, in this case, John didn't trust everybody else to work on those defects. Did we see that? Right? We saw fear of conflict. Team members didn't feel comfortable speaking up, but this is only artificial harmony. See that? Right? Now, if there's no trust, if you're not able to get into a healthy discussion, healthy conflict, it will eventually lead to lack of commitment. Nobody would be able to commit to those goals and stick to those goals. If you don't commit, it'll lead to avoidance of accountability. It's not my responsibility. Somebody else is responsible. Somebody else will fix it. They will take it. And ultimately, your results are going to suffer. Everybody see that? Yeah. Right now, SAFE provides us a way to tackle these dysfunctions, and we tackle them top down. Okay, if you are empirically paying attention to those results, each cycle, each iteration, through that peer pressure, through that stakeholder review of results, you will need to be accountable. Right? You will be responsible for your results. If you start being responsible for your results, you will need to commit to each other. You will need to commit to those goals. You need to commit to those stakeholders. And once you start committing, you will, hopefully with that safe environment that Scrum creates, you will feel comfortable speaking up and having those difficult discussions. And ultimately, when the environment is safe, when you're able to commit to your goals, when you're able to commit to each other, you will be able to be transparent, be open, be vulnerable, and start trusting each other. Does that help? Yep. Okay. Now, as a Scrum Master, our encouragement is to do things right. Do all the things that can help avoid this conflict in the first place, so that you have to spend less time correcting a bad situation. Everybody see that? Right? Spend more time doing the right things so that you have to spend less time fixing the wrong thing. With me? Right? And we've talked about all of these: listening, building relationships, communicating effectively, helping the team understand why teams are more effective than individuals. Right? Now, one of the things to do is we want to resolve those conflicts when they do come up. And here are the steps you'd want to take. Meet with the people that are in a conflict. Identify what is it that they want and why they are looking for it. Start with a common goal. Okay, start with a common goal. Review those assumptions, dig deeper, challenge those assumptions, and arrive at a new common goal that ties everybody together, that ties all of these reasons together. Now, there's multiple books you can read on conflict management. There's courses you can take, Udemy courses you can do, audiobooks you can check out, YouTube videos you can watch. Highly recommend investing in yourself when it comes to conflict resolution techniques. I'm going to show us a 1-minute video on conflict resolution. Here we go.
Every conflict has an underlying cause. Is it a values conflict? Is it a relationship conflict? It's really important to understand not the symptom of the conflict you're having, but actually, what do you really need to solve from this? Is it within your scope? Is it something you need support in solving? And once you understand that, I always say talk yourself down the ladder, right? Of how to solve the problem. If you're at the top, it's I can't work with that person. But when you say, oh, this is a values conflict, I see this differently than they do, then it's, oh, maybe I should learn more about why they see it differently. And as you walk down the rungs of the ladder, you get to a place where, again, you're having a supportive, on the same team conversation about how to move forward. I'm Leishan Gargano-Quilling, Scrum Master for the marketing team at Scaled Agile.
So a quick video. Highly recommend investing in yourself, investing in your conflict resolution techniques. Okay. Now, one of the things the video mentioned was having working agreements. Okay, we came up with a few working agreements in the morning as well. Have a look at these. Spend a minute, read through these, and tell me what you think about these. Go for it, Dean.
For me, it would definitely be the second one for respecting other people's opinions when they contradict or conflict with mine. It just mainly gives that openness of just saying you're wanting to do what's best for the entirety of the team. And even though if my own personal opinions or values contradict what it's supposed to be, my job at the end of the day is to make sure this gets done and make sure it gets done correctly.
Good. Thanks for sharing. Any other comments we have?
I think the last point for me, I hope I'm audible. Whether or not the team decision coincides with mine, I will do my best to support it. So I think continuous skill development at our own end helps us to achieve a state where we can see the difference between the two and still support the team with the best ability.
Great. Anything else you want to highlight? Any other comments?
The
I
one
almost see
before-
all of the other items as being, after the first one, I see all the other ones as being like subcategories under that. Like that's the guiding light, if you will. And everything else is just the way you support that first item.
Sonia, missed your comment?
No, I was just saying the one before the last is about flow.
Mhm.
I guess that's the new term they're using, you know, making sure that no one work is blocking someone else's. Because that happens a lot on teams.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, you might think, hey, aren't these pretty straightforward? Isn't this something we should do anyways? But sometimes it makes sense having them written out like this, especially when you're noticing a lot of conflict. Right? Now, one of the things it's mentioning is that I'm going to support a consensus decision. Now, what exactly is a consensus decision? Does it mean that everybody is agreeing to it?
Most people.
Majority. Okay, right? So consensus does not mean that everybody's on the same page. It just means you can support and live with the decision that everybody's collectively making. And you can arrive at your own working agreements. How do we arrive at a consensus? Is it 70% majority? Is it just majority? How do we arrive at that consensus? Make sense? Yep. Okay. All right. Now let's play out another scenario here. Now the team is going into a conflict and we're going to keep the same role. So Kim was our Scrum Master. We had Rafi as the team. We had Adam as John, the developer. So here the Scrum Master meets with the team. Everybody's here except for John, the developer, who comes in late with a negative attitude.
Thank you for coming together as a team. Is everyone here? Where's John?
Rafi, you're on mute.
Rafi, yeah.
I'm one of those examples from the other video. Yeah, but John is not doing his work. He has been offensive and extremely difficult to work with.
What? I have been working after hours and all my work is done. You are being unfair as a team.
The team continues to argue with John. The tension in the team room is rising. What do you think happened here?
For the Scrum Master is not facilitating the meeting properly.
Okay. What could the Scrum Master do differently?
Let everyone talk through, you know, their perspective of what's happening.
Okay. Okay, so maybe it's about not having the right mix of skills on the team.
Or if John is key to the meeting, wait till he arrives to start the meeting. Like, because in essence, they're already calling him out. Like, where's John? Like, you could just say, oh, John's like, here, let's wait a minute, which makes it more like, okay, he's a part of the team. We need to wait for him, as opposed to, oh, he doesn't value our time or what, you know, it seems even just asking where is John is accusatory.
Good point. Kim, comment, question?
Yeah, I think in this scenario, it would be a good idea to have a one-on-one with John after this meeting and see you would have to ask it in a better way than this, but basically why he doesn't think that the daily Scrum meeting is, or why this meeting isn't of that much value to him. So try to get down to the root cause of why he thinks that this meeting is optional and talk with him about that. And then definitely establish with the team, if this is a meeting where he needs to be in, establish it with the team that everyone needs to be a part of it.
All right, good. So maybe John is not thinking it's an optional meeting. He just came late, maybe because he was working extra hours.
Yeah.
Things could be going on. I saw another hand up, but it got down. Any additional comments, concerns?
I was gonna say something about the fact that he's working after hours. That could be an issue, you know, if he's having to work after hours, then maybe they pull too much in the iteration. Or maybe, like I think someone said earlier, there's a lack of, we need more people on the team to do the work. How often is that happening?
Yeah, so maybe room for improvement when it comes to cross-training your people, so multiple people can do the same item. Maybe it's to do with better iteration planning. Now, what do you think is the conflict here?
The team thinks
John
that John.
has not.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I think John has not brought up the point before this that he is getting too much work. He didn't raise his concern on time, and Scrum Master was not able to identify where exactly it is happening or where exactly the problem is happening from. So two sides.
Right, so I'm hearing John has too much work, and then maybe we, as a team, the Scrum Master was not able to identify earlier on. Dean, missed your comment there?
Mainly what I was looking at here is that, so if John the developer is working after hours and the team is saying that John is not doing his work, then it could be something along the lines of that, like maybe the story splits weren't done correctly, the DoD wasn't finished the way it needed to be. So it could end up being that the Scrum Master themselves are the ones that didn't follow up with the team or the developer, just in individuals, and seeing what was going on before, not so much the first meeting, but after that first meeting, getting those opinions and making sure the Scrum Master's on the same page, as well as with the team and with John.
You got it, right? Now, this is a good point to bring up. Now, the disconnect is that the team says John is not doing anything, and John says everything is done, right? What could be the disconnect? Maybe some of the items that John is working on isn't even in the backlog. Maybe some of the items he's working on haven't been updated on the Kanban board. Maybe they are supposed to be marked done, but he hasn't updated them, or he hasn't informed the Scrum Master yet. Right? So that is the disconnect. I'm glad we focused on this. I'm glad we did not talk about him being offensive, him being difficult to work with, because this is an opinion. This is difficult to quantify. What is easy to quantify is the fact. Team says John is not doing anything. John says, I'm done. I've been working extra hours. Because ultimately, as a Scrum Master, John is also on your team. And if somebody's working extra hours, that's not a good idea. They're going to burn out. They're going to quit the team. And seems like this guy's a high performer. Right? Everybody see that? Yeah. Right? Kim, additional comments, concerns?
No, I was just going to say pretty much what you said. And another thing too is if he isn't making it to the different meetings, the team might not be aware of everything that he's been working on too. So that's a missed opportunity, I think.
For sure. So doing a better job capturing all the things that John is involved in. Good. Sonia, question, comment?
So this reminds me of a scenario I had where this exact scenario, and my developer was actually slated to work on other projects outside of the team. I didn't know he wasn't exclusively dedicated to the team. So he had other things and other priorities that he were constantly being pulled over to do other things. So our team really wasn't the biggest priority on his plate, but it took for for everyone to complain about his work not being done for me to realize that that was the reason why.
Right. It's a good catch there. Right. So multiple things that we are noticing here. And ultimately, as a Scrum Master, you want to protect the full team, which includes John. Now, one of the things we can do here is ask yes questions. Has anybody heard of yes questions? No? Okay, what is yes questions? Now, yes questions is a technique, which is, it's essentially a series of questions you want to ask, which will only lead to a yes response. A series of questions that will only lead to a yes response. Let's take an example. Let's say you're facing something like this, and you want to start with questions and say, hey, let's hold off on this. Let's try and understand what's going on. But before we go into understanding what's going on, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. Can we agree that this is our opportunity to improve as a team? Can we agree? Is that a yes or a no? Yeah. Can we agree that if we don't get proficient as a team, we're going to become obsolete? Yeah. Can we agree that this is our opportunity to resolve this conflict, start trusting each other a little bit more, and start speaking up a little bit more? Yeah. Can we agree that this is our opportunity to collaborate more effectively? Can we agree this is our opportunity to understand each other? Can we agree this is our opportunity to improve the way we capture things in our backlog? Can we agree this is our opportunity to improve how we present our Kanban, how we update our Kanban, maybe improve our working agreements? Can we agree this is our opportunity to improve our collective results and deliver value more effectively? Yeah. Asking a series of yes questions. If your people are nodding, they're agreeing, they're saying yes, it will subconsciously send a message that they want to agree to the next thing you're about to say. Okay, so that's a technique that works well. If you're nodding, continually agreeing, it will encourage you to also agree to the next thing. Good. Yeah. Another technique I'm going to share with you is called mirroring. Has anybody heard of mirroring? Maybe subconsciously you might be aware of it. Now think about how you speak to your colleague versus how you speak to a kid, a toddler, maybe a 4 or a 5-year-old, maybe. How you speak to a colleague versus how you speak to a 4-year-old. Is there a difference in the way that you talk? Is there a difference in the way that your body language is? Yeah. Right. Now, why do we do that? So this is a technique that we know of. We've been using it for a while, but maybe you've not put it in the right concept. So this is called mirroring. People who act similar to you, people who you think are similar to you, you start liking them, you start listening to what they have to say, you are more easily influenced by them. Okay, now why do we speak to a kid in baby tone, in very polite manner, maybe enunciating everything? Why do we do that? Because they're able to understand what we're saying. They're able to think, hey, we are like them. We are being all bubbly, funny, energetic. Do you see that? Right? Now, if you've built those right relationships with the people that are on your team, if you've communicated effectively with them in the past and you have that rapport with them, you will notice they will also start copying you because they agree with you, because they are on the same page as you. They think you are similar to them. And body language has a key role to play. Think about this. Do we need a break? Do we need a break? Do you see what kind of messages I'm sending you? Right? So if I'm saying, hey, can we agree that this is our opportunity to improve as a team? And if I'm nodding, that'll hint that, yes, you want to agree to the next thing. Do you see that? Now I'm sharing this technique, I'm sharing this information by assuming you're going to use it in the right manner, ethically. So don't mess this up. And this works great with kids as well. Is that fair?
It's like mirroring, right? What are you calling it though? What are you calling it?
Mirroring. Same thing.
Oh, you did say mirroring. Okay.
Yeah, I thought you said meddling, and I was like,
oh no, sorry.
what?
And I'm missing a G in that. Mirroring. Okay.
I do have a question regarding for that.
Yes.
Whenever you're wanting to do like mirroring effects and just like really just reading into the body language. Would also just like using your hands more, like being more descriptive with your body language, would that be able to help as well? Or would it just be easier with just simpler notions? So like just the nod or like yes or just no?
I think it depends. Sometimes what I've noticed is that if there's too much hand movement going on, it takes away from what I want to communicate. If I'm communicating a yes, and if I'm moving my hands, it'll take away, it'll distract people and they will not notice my yes instead. Right? So it depends on how you're using it. Hand gestures are great. If you're trying to gather everybody's attention, you're taking them from a step-by-step process. But if you're trying to convince and influence people, I've seen hand gestures sometimes can distract from what you're trying to communicate. So it depends. See what works for you. It also depends on the person you are trying to influence. Okay, great. Other questions, comments? Okay, another thing that I've seen, and I've practiced this as well, something that has worked in the past. If you are noticing that there are two people that are always in a conflict, okay, two people on your team always in a conflict, why would they be in a conflict? I'm assuming because they are both high performers, they want to exceed expectations, they want to do their best, and they want to compete with everybody else on the team. Right now, what you can do is maybe organize some activities, some team building events, and maybe something like an escape room, and randomly place them in the same room. Now, if they're in the same room, they are forced to collaborate with each other to pass that activity, to excel at that game. And because they're both high performers, they are competing with each other, they'll be forced to collaborate with each other, start to see each other's point of view. Everybody see that? Right, so I've seen that work well in the past. You put two people together in an informal setting, so it's not work related, it's an informal setting, and they begin to know each other, begin to trust each other, begin to form those relationships, so they are able to communicate effectively, they're able to communicate respectfully instead of getting into an unhealthy conflict. Cool? All good ideas? Yes, yes. All right, great. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. So in lesson 2, we talked about what makes an effective Scrum Master, the responsibilities of a Scrum Master, collaborating within the team, outside of the team, facilitating team events, the stages of a high-performing team. Does anybody remember how many stages of a high-performing team?
4.
4 stages, right? 4 stages of that high-performing team. We talked about coaching through asking questions. We talked about conflict resolution, establishing working agreements, arriving at a consensus. We talked about dysfunctions on a team, right? So that was our lesson number 2. Was that cool? Yep. All right, great. So this brings us to our lesson number 3. So just going to kick this off and maybe stop at or after one activity. So I'm hoping to finish in another 30 minutes or so for the day today. Is that okay? Yep. Okay, great. So let's talk about PI planning. Now, has anybody attended a PI planning event? Okay, a couple of us have. That's good. Sonia, what has your experience been like of PI planning?
One of the stressful things can be when you have a lot of Scrum Masters who are new, you have an RTE who's new. Everybody in the organization is new. It's, a lot, it just takes a little bit of time to kind of warm up and get everybody flowing. I'm not sure if this is something that is supposed to happen, or if it's the way that they did it. But basically, after all of the teams got the first features, broke them all the way down based on everything that they needed, then the RTE came back and said, okay, we want to add more stuff to it. Okay, and then everybody came back, readjusted, moved some stories to this team. We could do this, we could do that. Got it down to the timeline, and RTE was like, we want to add some more stuff to it. So I don't know if that's something that they that's the way they did it, or if it's something that's supposed to happen. Is that supposed to happen? Seems like I read that somewhere.
Yep, so it can happen. Your features can be reprioritized. We can add more features. We can take some features off. That can happen, but that typically happens towards the end of day one and it's communicated on day two. And even during your PI, if you realize there's too much in scope or our timelines have changed, adjustments can take place even during your implementation. Right now, we'll look at an agenda for what PI planning looks like. But thanks for sharing, Sonia. Michael, did you have your hand up as well? What has your experience been like for PI planning?
Well, I've been running versions of PI planning for quite a while. And it has definitely varied depending on what type of person is in the room. Like we have a product owner, but we also have a director of technology, and different persons have worn that hat, and that greatly influences sort of what level of detail we go into and how much discussion and, you know, I'll say horse trading we have.
All right, sounds good. All right, now we're going to watch a video on what PI planning looks like in action. Here we go.
The evolution from the first PI planning a year ago to the PI planning that we're in now, which is PI 6, has changed dramatically. Both enjoyable experiences, but everybody kind of running around like headless chickens, quite nervous in that first PI. And now we seem to be like a well-oiled engine.
It's been probably the most fundamental change for our commercial teams. Our commercial teams never had the opportunities to get in front of the engineers. There was always multiple layers in between there. Having this process where every 10 weeks, we've got a business owner who's saying, hey, thank you team for what you delivered last time. Here's what it drove. And hey, here's what we're hearing from our customers about what we need. This is why it's a priority. And when we actually deliver this, here's the value that it's going to drive to them and us.
The teams are so much more confident in their planning. We do things a lot earlier. We collaborate more effectively across the teams and across product management and the dev teams, so that when we come into PI planning, the teams have a good idea of what they're going to take on in their individual teams.
We had our business owners come to us and say, look, I know that we have all these commitments, but one of our primary customers has asked us to make a change. We said, okay, what are we taking off the plate of the teams? Because we can't do it all, and SAFE tells us we can't do it all. They agreed that there was work that could be removed. We went back to the teams. And when we told the teams, A, you're going to get started on this, go ahead, we're good to go. B, you're going to remove X off of your plate. They looked at us and they were like, wait, what? We don't have to do it all? The team was able to deliver the new requirement in less time than they had estimated it. And they didn't have to work overtime, and they didn't have to work long hours. And the success of that and how it motivated the team and the appreciation that they felt at having been heard and understood was off the charts, and it was amazing.
All right. Now, based on that video, who do we think is attending PI planning? Everybody. Right? Everybody.
And I should qualify. I was thinking of iteration planning, not
Okay. Fair enough.
My own experience.
Okay, so PI planning, it's an all hands on deck event. So you can think about this as everybody in your release train, which includes your agile teams, includes your product owners, Scrum Masters, everybody in your release train is going to be participating in this 2-day long event. You can even schedule it for longer if it's done with distributed teams, if you have different time zones to work with. Right? So everybody comes together, your product management owns feature priorities, your teams own story level planning, and you can also invite any intermediaries like architecture, UX, right? Any other shared services who can contribute to your planning session. Now, why do you think PI planning is done in this manner? Why should everybody be involved?
Well, from what I've seen, it's an initiative that the company is moving toward, right? And based on that initiative, that roadmap, what they want to deliver is taking that and pushing it all the way down where everybody is hearing it and everybody can see who's involved. And like the video mentioned, to see the progress that the last one made. So to get everybody kind of riled up and understanding and all of the impediments and conflicts, well, you know, between each other. What I'm trying to say, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Dependencies.
Yeah, for sure. Prerna, you had-
Yeah, I think it's about the alignment. It's about getting everybody on the same page and the awareness of what the goal and the mission is. So the more everybody is involved, the more they understand where they want to be, and there are less confusing questions or the knowledge of not knowing what they are supposed to do. So I think it's clarity, it's being clear, and it's being transparent. I think that is what it helps develop.
For sure, for sure. Now, maybe let's draw some parallels from project management versus product management, right? In agile case versus traditional approaches. Who comes up with a plan in project management world?
The project manager.
Project managers, right? Stakeholders, leadership coming up with a plan through project managers, and then this plan is shared with the team. Now, the first time your team sees this plan, do they agree with it? Do they agree with the timelines, the scope?
Most of it.
Most of them.
No.
Now think about it. The first time your team sees the plan that you are supposed to implement, that team is supposed to implement, they don't agree with it. How much buy-in do you think we'll have from that team? How successful do you think that plan is going to be? Not a lot, right? So this is a shift that's happening by inviting everybody in this same meeting. Information on what to do, what to focus on, why this is important, who the customers are, all of this information is shared top down. Our leadership is sharing that information. Our stakeholders are sharing that information. But the planning is done bottom up. Our teams are the ones saying, hey, this is our capacity. This is how we think this feature needs to be implemented. Based on this, we think we can do this aspect of this feature or these many features. Right? And there's room for making changes. Your management can look at this information, look at these plans and say, hey, we were hoping for 8 features, but only 6 of them are getting done. What do we do with this information? Do we negotiate scope? Do we change the timelines? Do we change the budget? What do we do? Right? So because that planning is done bottom up, if I'm responsible for a plan that I'm supposed to implement over the next 8 to 12 weeks, how much more successful do you think that plan will be? More successful. Right? Everybody see that? Right? So that's the shift we are noticing from project-based to product-based. Now, back in the day, when I first acted as an RTE, this is about 5-6 years ago, I would say yes to everything. My leadership would come to me and say, hey, Meenal, is it possible to get these 11 features delivered in this PI? Yes, we can do it. Is it possible to have a PI planning session without everybody involved? You know, our team members are very busy. They've got urgent items to focus on. They don't really have the time to spend 2 days in this PI planning event. Sure, let's do it. Is it possible to simply email all of the materials to all the people attending? They don't have the time to sit in a training session. Let's just email all of the best practices, email the training materials. They'll read through this, they'll come prepared, and we'll host that PI planning event. Sure, let's do it. What do you think happened in that PI planning event?
Not a lot got done. A lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion. Now, the first thing we noticed is that half the people hadn't even gone through those materials, and half the people who didn't understand it. So we were not prepared for that PI planning meeting at all. So we spent those 2 days in just coaching the group in understanding, hey, here's what vision looks like. Here's what your roadmap looks like. Here's what your features look like. Here's how you refine features. Here's how you prioritize features. Here's how features get broken down into stories. Here's how we estimate stories. So we spent 2 days in just coaching. We had to spend another couple days in PI planning. And we thought, hey, still after all of that, we had a decent plan. We shared that plan with our teams. And our teams would constantly come back and ask us, hey, did you know we have a dependency on that team? No, we didn't know. Did you know for this functionality, we need this tool? Do we have that license already? Have we started those conversations? No, we haven't. We didn't know. So that back and forth that took place after that so-called PI planning event, it derailed our plans completely. Now I understand why SAFE recommends having everybody involved. There is no way that just our stakeholders, just business owners, release train engineer, product management, system architect, product owners can come up with all of these dependencies, all of these risks by themselves. Creative solutions only come about. Alignment is only achieved when everybody is in the same room participating together. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You just mentioned you started out with the product versus the program. So are you saying that the old top-down way is based on the project and the way PI planning is from the program, which is why it used to be called program increment?
Let's use, so, oops, seems like the blackboard has moved.
I just want to make sure that's not a test question because I know you took the point.
It won't be a test question, but just for your understanding, this way of operating is called a project-based organization, where we have these silos coming together, they approve a project, and then we bring a temporary team to it. Now, this way of operating, where we understand our solutions at the high level, we organize all of the people, the skills needed to build and maintain those solutions over the long term in these development value streams. This is what we call a product-based organization. Okay, we can use the term product-based, and there's a shift happening towards product-based organizations. And in these development value streams could be your teams, your release trains, your solution trains, or a mix. Does that help, Sonia?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Other questions on PI planning before we move forward? Okay. All right. Everybody clear on why SAFE recommends having everybody involved? Yeah. Okay, great. Now let's talk about the two main inputs. You can get a question on this. Okay, two main inputs, two things you want to come prepared with to PI planning. And that's going to be your backlog with the prioritized list of features that have been refined. And you want to, oops, sorry. I wanted to highlight this. You want to come prepared with your top features in your backlog, and you want to come prepared with your vision. Vision, which is talking about the future state of your solutions. It's answering the question why this is important. Who are the customers we are focused on? What problems are we solving? Why is this critical? Why these features have been prioritized? Okay, so your vision and your top features in your backlog. Make sense? Right, so we are coming prepared with two features, with two inputs, and we are leaving with two outputs. What are those two outputs? We've got a planning board, which looks like this. This is what we use to manage our dependencies. More on this tomorrow. And we have something called PI objectives. Okay, what are PI objectives? These are high-level sentences. Okay, high-level statements or sentences, which look something like this, which summarize the intent of your PI. You want to think about PI objectives as the link between your top-down vision and bottom-up planning. Okay, vision is shared top-down, planning is done bottom-up. PI objectives are what connects these two. Now, if you look at these, show routing calculations between the 5 most frequent destinations, being able to parallel park for a delivery. So this is about self-driving vehicles that are delivering packages. Right? They're written in plain English so that everybody else, your stakeholders, can understand them. Everybody see that? Yeah. Okay. Now you will also notice there is a separate section here called uncommitted. Any guesses on what these uncommitted objectives are?
Extra, what did you call it earlier? Extra work that can be pulled on.
Okay. Unknowns.
Enablers.
Enablers could be enablers.
Yeah.
Adam. Enhancements. All right. Okay. So a little bit right, and then a little bit not right. So these are not things you do if you have time. These are not your stretch goals. These are not nice to haves. Everything that has been prioritized for this PI is critical, is a higher in priority. But these are those things that the team has less confidence in delivering. Okay, so the key message is the team has the capacity, they have planned them into their PI, but because of some unknowns, some uncertainty, the team is flagging them as uncommitted. Now, if we flag them as uncommitted, that means they're letting everybody else know that we are not going to guarantee them. Now, if these are critical, this means during your implementation, you're going to get more hand-holding, more support from your stakeholders. See that? Yeah. Okay, now let's take an example. So Dean mentioned in this morning, he's got 5 things to do next weekend. He wants to go for a coffee. He wants to hit the beach. He wants to have some dinner, movie, and he wants to study for this exam. Now, what happens if he has the capacity to do all 5 of these things? He's planned these 5 things into his next weekend, but hitting the beach is dependent on the weather. What if it's raining really badly and he can't hit the beach? So he can flag that as an uncommitted objective. There's too many unknowns, too much uncertainty. The team doesn't feel confident on delivering that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so uncommitted are planned. We have the capacity, but they are not guaranteed. With me? Yep. Hey, Adam, question?
Yeah, just a clarification question. So objectives, is that the same as target features within the PI, or is it a different thing?
Okay, so if one team is delivering everything and planning to do everything for a feature within that team, potentially a feature may translate into an objective, right? But it's possible that one feature, maybe let's draw it out here. It's possible one feature got split into multiple stories. These 2 stories are being done by one team. This story is being done by another team. Then you'll see objective in team 1 area corresponding to those stories, and another objective in team 2 area corresponding to that story. Now, if
Okay.
that is not being planned for at all, we don't have the capacity, you will see no objectives corresponding to that story.
So these cards are team specific. It's not for the PI as a whole. It's for each individual team. Okay.
Each team is going to come up and summarize their plan in these PI objectives.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
Right? All right, good. Other questions, comments?
Can you go back one slide, please? I guess before that one also. It was the one where you were talking about the 2 inputs and the outputs. Oh, this is it. Yeah, the outputs. What were the 2 outputs? The PI
and the planning board.
I'm sorry. The objectives and what else?
Do you see my screen here, Sonia?
Yes.
PI objectives and the planning board, these are your 2 outputs. And your vision and top features, these are the 2 inputs. Okay, all right. Now this would have been a good question for the chat. Okay, other questions, comments? For PI planning? Okay, sorry, having it rough. Now, PI planning is an event where all agile teams and your release train level leadership is involved. Who is responsible for the vision, the roadmap, what role is responsible for this one? Not the master.
The lean management,
not the lean portfolio management. Who's responsible?
PM.
It's the product management.
Yeah, PM.
Okay, so product management is bringing your vision, your roadmap, any additional materials, your top features that have been refined, have been prioritized. Your teams are the ones who are going to be taking these features, breaking them down into stories. Okay, great. Now let's focus on the input. Okay, let's talk about features. And the best way to understand this and do this is through an exercise. So we're going to go into our Miro board. And we're going to head into our last exercise of the day. So you will notice below those pink stickies, you will see we've got an epic. Okay, remember an epic is a significant idea, a large solution, or a standalone product. In this case, it's a health and fitness app. Okay, so if you can imagine an app that you can download on your phone, maybe you can add some goals. Maybe through that, they can suggest some exercises to follow. Maybe you can watch some videos and follow those exercises at home. Maybe you can track your steps, you can track your activities, your exercises that you do. Maybe you can track your calories consumed. So think about all the things you would want your health and fitness app to do. Okay. And the goal of this exercise is to break this epic into at least one feature and refine at least that one feature all the way with something called a benefit hypothesis and an acceptance criteria. Now, let me show you an example of what this looks like. And this is coming from one of my clients, but some of the proprietary information has been removed. Okay, so here we have a mortgage application tracking system. Couple of features here: uploading documents and an enabler, real-time integrated data services. Okay, let's look at uploading documents. Now you will notice the feature, generally this is just a name, this is just a title. Okay, so we want to use as less words as possible. Your benefit hypothesis. Okay, this is more hinting towards the why. Why is this feature important? Okay, let's have a look at this. It says brokers will have an efficient and fast method to send new documents for their applications, leading to faster application turnaround. So this is your why. It will reduce our turnaround time. Everybody see that? Yep. Okay. Now for your acceptance criteria, the guidance I will share is you want to think about, is there any input for this feature? Is there any input that's needed? Is there any output that we are expecting? You want to think about your non-functional requirements and think about anything to do with user interface or experience. Okay, for example, here it says we have an upload button that's visible, looks like UI UX. We can upload documents in different formats, looks like your input. We get an email confirmation, looks like an output. And our file size is restricted. Could be a usability constraint, could be a security constraint, a potential non-functional requirement. See that? Yep. Okay. Questions on feature refinement? Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do, last exercise of the day, we want to go into our breakout rooms again. Try and take this epic, at least come up with one feature and refine it all the way with a benefit hypothesis and an acceptance criteria. If you have time, come up with additional features. Is that fair? Yep. Okay. All right. Now for this exercise, how much time do we need?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. All right. You got 8 minutes. Rooms are opening now.
All right.
I think it's Rajiv's. Health and fitness. So a caloric counter or maybe even a carb counter.
Probably, I think the best, also being married to a cardiologist, I would say that heart rate tracking is probably the best indicator of your overall health, in particular your resting heart rate.
Okay. Mainly what I'm trying to think of is something that we can have it be a little bit more open, so that way we can go through with like the benefit hypothesis and then having the acceptance criteria with it. So if we were wanting to do it as for heart rate monitor, why would this be an effective feature for the health and fitness app? So off the top of my head, it would be knowing what your standing, your resting, and your active heart rates can give you a better definition of your overall heart health.
Yes. Yeah, that'd probably be the best way to identify that hypothesis.
Okay.
Ooh, I like the healthy recipes. Whoever put that. It's a good one.
All right. So for the acceptance criteria regarding for the heart rate monitor, it would be what are the options that would show? So for one, it would be just your overall, it would display in real time your heart rate.
Probably warning if resting heart rate's too high.
Okay.
I know that like on my Fitbit app, they have basically a chart of my resting heart rate over time. So that can be an indicator of, like you said, better cardiovascular health.
So records of previous days, weeks, and months, and then being able to show that within a larger time frame.
Maybe also along with the warning, we could have something for other heart irregularities, like I'm blanking on the words, but you would probably know.
AFib,
With your
like if you're
like arrhythmia.
your heartbeats are regular, like an arrhythmia.
Yeah.
Okay, this I'm probably gonna need a little help on, but the reasoning why I'm thinking of it is what is pacemaker. So would there be an option where we can incorporate saying that if you have a pacemaker on you to take that into account as well regarding for your heart rate, or would that not matter?
I don't know.
Well, the pacemaker's primary purpose, I think, is to maintain a normal heart.
So it being either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connected. So just leave it as smartphone or wait.
I think connectivity to mobile, like a cell phone, makes the most sense. Would be really valuable to you in the sense, like sometimes, like if your heart rate is extremely abnormal, it might actually prompt to like call emergency services.
Yeah.
Connectivity between devices for regularity happens and services are required. I feel like I can make that sound a little bit nicer than what it's already been typed. For mobile devices for when irregularity happens and emergency services are required.
Maybe connectivity to mobile devices to potentially contact emergency services if required.
Right. I'm trying to think of for that just to make it to where it's like condensed enough to where it like can prove that point. So it can connect to a mobile device. If something were to happen to the user, it would then call emergency services, even if the user is unresponsive.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to only be filling this out for one feature or for multiple?
For one as of right now, but if we have time, then we do. That's why I was saying it was like we focus on the one, so that way we can at least meet the criteria, and then we at least have one feature, one benefit hypothesis, and then 4 acceptable criteria.
Okay.
And then now, since we have a little bit more time, we can now implement other features and then go and then. But as long as we have this one, so
yeah, I think we're good there. So we have 2 minutes to get to the other ones if we want to jump into anything else.
So the meal prepping was a good idea, where it can just be able to give you like, hey, we've noticed that, you know, you have a higher heart rate or things like that. Here's healthier alternatives to snacks, or here's something that can, I'm not too sure.
Well, if I guess the feature for the healthy diet could also be if your primary goal is weight loss, not necessarily like, you know, overall health. If you're just focused on losing weight, that could be the feature, and then the benefit hypothesis could be to it help it to facilitate your achieving your goal of weight loss.
So
Looks
then
like
for a health and fitness app, it would be mainly like the way I'm kind of thinking of it is like Apple Watch, Fitbit, or just any of those, to where it just is, this can tell you, or it can track a 1 mile run, it can track certain workout regimens or things like that. So in my mind, it could also be, oh, I'm a beginner or intermediate or advanced something, and I need to be able to have a workout that's associated with that. So it's tailored workouts based on your experience with whichever activity you're doing. So like swimming, running, or doing track and field, or anything of that nature is what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Let me know if you guys are okay with this. Just while he was talking, I was just thinking possibly like a mental health section.
That can work.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we're also at a time where it's 0.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, it's just a feature of the app overall.
Yeah. These are still just features. We've already decided to agree for the heart rate monitor, but now it's, since we had a little bit more time, we wanted to think of other features. But as long as we had the first one, then we're just good. I mean, this is pulling straight from Apple, but like crash detection or like fall detection.
Yeah, no, those are all, that'd definitely be valuable.
Just like things like that. And then it would just be like following the same thing. Because even now, it just is almost like there's so many different things that can track now that it's like, whoa, that's a little too impersonal.
Or they know too much.
Yeah. And then it's just like, because even for one of the tricks I do for whenever I'm in the house, it's like, man, I'm really craving a cheeseburger. Now all my targeted ads are like places around me that sell good cheeseburgers. I'm like, oh, cool. Now I have a list of cheeseburger places that I can go to. Like, I already know it exists. It's just kind of like, how can I use this to where it doesn't take too much? But at that point, it's just like, oh, well.
I think our time's up.
It's been up for the past like minute and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we jump out or wait for her to close the room?
I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah, let's just leave. Just leave the room.
All right, sounds good.
No.
No, we'll just leave out the room.
Yeah. Leave breakout room. Do not leave the meeting. There will be 2 options.
Who left our breakout room?
Yeah.
Well,
so this is not your breakout room.
You're right. Leaving the meeting would mean that you're out of the Zoom call entirely. Do we want to work on the mental health one while we still just have time and we're just waiting?
Yeah, why not?
Let me copy it over to the feature 2.
Perfect. And then for the feature, health encompasses mental health and can affect physical health. All right.
It's not letting me edit the one.
Is it already highlighted by someone else?
Yeah.
Perna is holding it hostage. What? That seems very odd.
Maybe they accidentally clicked over into our group.
There we go. And then for the mental health. And then what would be things that we could do to really push for the mental health side? Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
All right. All right. Hello. Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
How was that exercise?
I think we needed more time, definitely.
I heard some of the discussions taking place. Now, tomorrow we're going to look at these features and break them down into stories. So I was hoping maybe we can debrief them tomorrow as well, but I think we are on the right track. Did anybody wonder why we are thinking about writing and refining features in this course? It's a Scrum Master course. Why are we doing features? Now, who's responsible for features?
Program managers.
It's the
Yeah.
product management, right? Product management is responsible for features. So why is a Scrum Master learning about writing and
To
refining?
be knowledgeable of the business.
To facilitate the conversations.
Exactly, right? As a coach, sometimes you got to coach up. Sometimes you will have to let your product management know, hey, this is what might be missing, or maybe we can do a better job at refining features so that the team understands what is it that we need to market complete. Right? So it's a good idea to be aware of how features get written, how they get refined. Is that fair? Yeah. Okay, great. So more on this tomorrow. We'll debrief it, potentially come up with some additional features as well. Now, we said, since we're finishing a little bit early, we're going to be doing some homework exercises. Is everybody okay spending 30-ish minutes in homework? Yeah. Yeah. And you can do this at your own time. Now, before that, tomorrow we're going to have PI planning. And for this, I'm looking for some roles. I'm looking for some volunteers to play the role of an executive, a product manager, a system architect. And heads up, these 3 roles will have some slides to read and present tomorrow. And your slides are in this Miro board here. So if you feel comfortable speaking in front of everybody, please volunteer for a role.
I can have system architect.
Okay, Megha wants the architect, great. Hamid wants the executive, great. Who wants the product manager?
I can do it.
Oh, you got me.
All right, I saw Kim, I saw Prerna, I saw Dean. Who would want it?
Nah, Kim can have it.
Kim can have it, Prerna can have it. Okay, now out of Kim and Prerna. Okay, all right, Prerna, okay with it? Kim, okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, great. All right, now where are your slides? You will notice we have underneath Blackboard 1 and 2, there's PI planning briefings. You can even click on frame number 18. Okay, frame number 18. So we've got, as the executive, Hamid, you're going to have a couple of slides to read and present as part of PI planning. Might happen right before or right after lunch. Okay, Prerna as a product manager, again, couple of slides. And Megha as the system architect, you have 3 slides. Is that cool? Yeah, okay, great. Now, one of the exercises, actually before going into that, tomorrow when we facilitate PI planning, we also have teams with some roles. So we've got Rafi, Kim, Hamid number 2. This is not the same as Hamid in our executive roles. This is a different Hamid on this team. Dean, we got Rajiv. Who would like the product owner role? Dean, thanks for that. Who would like the Scrum Master role?
I can do it
I
if
can
no
do
one
that,
has their
sure.
hand raised.
I heard Kim first. Everybody else comfortable being team members?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, great, super. Let's have a look at team safest. We got Sonia, Michael, Adam, Megha number 2, Prerna number 2. Who would like the product owner, Scrum Master roles?
I could be the product owner.
Okay, thanks, Sonia. Who wants to be the Scrum Master?
Scrum Master.
Okay, now since Megha and Prerna already have leadership roles, is it okay if we give Michael and Adam an opportunity first? Michael, are you volunteering?
Sure.
Yes, okay, thanks. Everybody else good with team members? Yes, okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Now, you will find your homework exercises in a big green sticky on top of the common area. It is a big green sticky. Number 1, contribute to the retro parking lot networking. Now I showed you the networking phase. If you want to stay in touch with everybody else in the class, please share your contact info. On here, you got parking lot, you can find these frames. So number 4 is the parking lot. If you have any questions that haven't been answered yet, within the course and outside of the course, please add those here. We'll try and make sure to address them throughout the course. Is that fair? Yep. Okay. And right below the parking lot is the retrospective frame number 5 as well. I'm looking for feedback from this course to gauge how we are doing in the form of 3 questions. And those 3 questions are what's working well, and that would be the hot air balloon. So any comments on what's going well, you can add those here. Any comments on what's holding us back, you can add those in the green stickies, in the, orange sticky sandbags here. And what are you looking forward to? You can add them in the yellow stickies here. Okay, these would be the sunny skies. Now, if you notice a comment that you agree with, you don't have to add it again. You can simply drag a dot on that comment, and this is called dot voting. Is that cool? Right, so drag a dot, so we'll know more than one person agrees with that comment. Fair? Yep, okay, great. So participate in the retro, the parking lot, and the contact info. The second one is reviewing the backlog. So for PI planning, we're going to be playing around with this Geekbooks backlog. Okay, so you'll see there's a section below Blackboard number 4. Okay, I would encourage everybody to read through these features in blue. Underneath each feature, you will see some stories. User stories are in green. Any enabler stories are in yellow or orange. Okay, so read through them so you have a decent idea of what stories look like. Is that fair? Yeah, okay, so just read through them. It'll help with an effective PI planning simulation tomorrow. And number 3, if you have time. So number 3 is optional, only if you have time. Watch lesson 4 videos. I'll be skipping them tomorrow so that we can finish sooner tomorrow as well. Okay, so as long as you watch them before your exam, we should be good. Fair? Yep.
Sorry, where were the links for those videos?
You'll find them in your PDF.
Okay, the workbook basically.
Yes, PDF,
Yeah.
this course book. Let me show you. Okay, so if you go to that Google Drive link and you can download that PDF of this course.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You want to head over to lesson number 4, and then you can find, so let me see, let me show you one of those. And here we go. If I go to, let's say, iteration planning, you will see there's some videos. If you click on that link or copy paste it, you'll be able to watch those videos. Cool. Okay, great. Any other questions, comments?
You're expecting the parking lot retrospective stuff after, or not tonight, right?
Okay, so I'm expecting parts 1 and 2. Okay, retro parking lot networking and reviewing the backlog. So I'm expecting these 2 to be definitely done. It'll help. We will review the retrospective the first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, do it before the end of it.
Before the class. Yes, please.
Okay.
So whenever we log back to Miro is when we can actually, we're going to reach the same.
Yes, so what I have done is I've sent out an email titled Next Steps. Everybody should have received it about a couple of hours ago. And that email, I've attached the link for Miro as well. So you can see that Miro link on that. So
okay.
For reference.
Okay, sure. Done. Thank you.
All right. Other questions before I let everybody go? No problem. No problem.
Yes, thank you so much.
Evening. Enjoy your night. I will see you tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, depending on where you're at.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.